Welcome back. In the last video, we learned why controlling the center is one of the most important goals in the opening. But controlling the center alone isn't enough, you also need to bring your army into the game. In this video, we'll cover the second opening principle, piece development. You'll learn what development really means, why it's so important, which pieces should be developed first, and the common mistakes beginners make that can leave them behind before the middle game even begins. By the end of this video, you'll have a simple development checklist you can follow in almost every chess opening, no matter what opening you choose to play. Let's get started. Development is one of the most important opening principles in chess. It means bringing your pieces from their starting squares to active positions where they can influence the game. While controlling the center with pawns is important, you can't spend the entire opening pushing pawns. Your pieces need to join the battle too. When we talk about development, we're mainly referring to the knights and bishops, since they're the easiest pieces to bring into the game early. A good rule of thumb is to avoid moving the same piece repeatedly unless there's a good reason. Every extra move with one piece is time that could have been used to develop another. A common beginner mistake is making too many pawn moves or repeatedly moving the same piece while leaving the rest undeveloped. This often leads to an underdeveloped position, where your opponent's active pieces are already creating threats while yours are still stuck on their starting squares. By learning how to develop efficiently, you'll avoid falling behind in the opening and give yourself a much stronger position heading into the middle game. Let's start with the knights. A simple guideline that you'll hear very often in chess is, develop your knights before your bishops. Notice I said guideline, not rule. It's not something you have to follow in every single position, but it's a great habit for beginners because it works the vast majority of the time. The reason is simple. Knights only have a few good squares they usually want to go to in the opening, so it's often easy to develop them first. Bishops, on the other hand, have many possible squares they can choose from. By developing your knights first, you get a better idea of where your bishops will be most effective in the future as the game progresses. As we go through these examples, you'll see which squares you should consider developing your knights on. For our first example, we can see that both white and black have controlled the center with their e-pawns. In this position, we can develop our knight to attack black's pawn, threatening to eliminate it. Obviously, if we had the chance to play two moves at the same time, we would have taken the pawn, but for a move to be complete, both white and black have to play a move. Black now has an opportunity to develop their knight and also defend their attacked pawn. Now it's your turn. Based on the two examples we've just covered, take a moment to study this position and see if you can find the best developing move for the knight. Remember what you've learned so far. A good developing move doesn't just bring the knight into the game, it should also have a purpose. In the first example, the white knight developed to attack the black pawn, while in the second example the black knight developed to defend that pawn. Pause the video if you need a little more time, and once you've made your choice, let's see if you got it right. The answer to this is knight c3. This move not only develops your knight but also attacks the queen. If you got the right move, well done. You're already starting to think about development the way strong chess players do. Keep it up. If you didn't get it this time, don't worry. That's exactly why we're practicing. Every puzzle helps you recognize these patterns a little faster, and before long, finding good developing moves will become second nature. If you've noticed by now, the optimal squares of development for your knights are f3 and c3 for white and f6 and c6 for black. Now, let's look at a case where you want to develop your knight, but one of these squares is occupied by another piece. As you can see in this example, the queenside knight can't develop on its natural square on c3. That shouldn't discourage you from developing that knight instead. You can also develop it on d2 to connect it with your knight that's already developed on f3. It's better than having it block the rook by not developing it at all. Now let's do the last quiz on how the knights develop. Use what you saw in the previous example to solve this one. Develop your kingside knight. This time, we're looking at it from black's perspective. If you chose knight f6, good attempt, but there's one problem. Your knight can simply be captured by the pawn, meaning you've lost a piece in one move. That's why, before developing a piece, we should always make sure it's moving to a safe square. If you chose knight e7, excellent work. You've understood the idea of good development of your knights. Not only is the knight developed to a safe square, but it's also preparing to move to f5 later, clearing the way for the dark squared bishop to develop as well. Before we move on to the bishops, you may have noticed something. In every example, the knights were developed toward the center of the board, never to the edge. That's because of a famous chess saying, "A knight on the rim is dim." In simple terms, knights are much stronger in the center than they are on the edge. A knight placed in the center can jump to 8 different squares, giving it plenty of influence over the board. But on the edge, that number is cut in half to just 4 squares, making the knight much less active. So, whenever you're developing your knights in the opening, try to bring them toward the center, not toward the sides of the board. It's a simple habit that will make your pieces much more effective in almost every game. With that in mind, let's move on to the bishops. Now let's talk about the bishops. Unlike the knights, bishops are much more flexible when it comes to development. Since they can move any number of squares along a diagonal, they often have several good squares to choose from. This is exactly why we usually develop our knights before our bishops. Knights have only a few natural developing squares, making their choices fairly straightforward. Bishops, on the other hand, require a bit more thought. Before developing a bishop, you should first take a moment to look at the position and ask yourself, which square will make my bishop the most active? The answer to this is mostly preferential. In other words, there isn't one square where a bishop always belongs. Its best developing square changes from one position to another. Let's look at a few examples to see how strong bishop development depends on understanding the position rather than simply following a fixed rule. For our first example, we're going to use a position you're already familiar with. White and black have both controlled the center with their e-pawns and also developed their knights on f3 and c6, respectively. One square you can develop the bishop is on c4, and remember what I said before, it's all preferential. Most people prefer to develop here on c4 to attack the f7 pawn. Others prefer to develop it on b5, where it attacks the black knight. Now it's your turn to develop your bishop. Move your bishop to another decent developing square apart from c4 and b5. Take your time to look at all the squares the bishop can move without it being attacked and choose your option. If you chose bishop d3, that's a reasonable idea, but there's an important drawback. By placing the bishop on d3, you block your d-pawn. As long as the bishop stays there, the d-pawn can't move forward, which means your dark-squared bishop will have a much harder time getting into the game. This will also make you have to move your light-squared bishop yet again, which wastes time, as we mentioned earlier in the video not to move the same piece twice in the opening. This teaches us an important lesson about development. When you develop one piece, try not to prevent another undeveloped piece from coming out. Good development is all about helping your entire army become active. Every move should make it easier, not harder, for your remaining pieces to find good squares. So while bishop d3 develops the light-squared bishop, it also slows down the development of the dark-squared bishop, making it a less effective choice in this position. If you chose bishop e2, well done. This is an excellent developing move. It may be a bit passive, but at least it's defending the knight rather than blocking your other bishop's development. A good developing move should help your position, not create new problems for your own pieces. With bishop e2, you've developed a piece while keeping the rest of your army free to develop smoothly, and that's exactly what we're aiming for in the opening. There's one more important way to develop a bishop that every beginner should know, and it's called a fianchetto. Let's say, for example, in this case black wants to develop their dark-squared bishop a bit faster but can't due to the pawns on e7 and d6, so instead they go for a fianchetto. A fianchetto happens when you first move the pawn in front of your bishop one square, either to g3 or b3 for white, or g6 or b6 for black, and then develop the bishop behind that pawn. In this case, black goes for g6. So why would you choose this setup? The biggest advantage is that a fianchettoed bishop becomes incredibly powerful. From its long diagonal, it can control squares across almost the entire board, putting pressure on your opponent from a safe distance. It's also an excellent defender of your own king after you castle on that side. That's it for today's lesson on development. By now, you should understand why developing your knights and bishops is one of the most important goals in the opening, how to choose good squares for them, and the common mistakes to avoid. Thank you so much for watching and making it all the way to the end. In the next video, we'll cover another essential opening principle, castling. If you missed the previous videos in this series, don't worry. They'll be appearing on your screen right now, so be sure to check them out before moving on to the next lesson. If you found this video helpful, consider leaving a like and subscribing so you don't miss the rest of the opening principles series. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next lesson.